Hi guys, thanks for coming back to another video. Appreciate y'all coming back. Thank you so much. Guys, we got some big things to talk about today. We've got some big things to talk about today. The Lord allowed me to have an experience that I want to share with you. It was not an experience I was expecting. Obviously, in my mere mind, I was not understanding exactly how I was going to experience what was given unto me, but I want to share with you what I did experience and what I am understanding from this point. So, last video, we talked about a timeline. We talked about spring. We said this was the time, this was the season, this was what the Lord has continued year after year after year, pointing to this particular time period from April, beginning of April to around the 4th of April. Years and years and years have gone around, that the Lord has kept coming back and saying certain things. I can recall in an older video, I had gone through and I had read what the Lord had said on April the 2nd for several years in a row. Read what he said on April 3rd for several years in a row. April 4th, several years in a row, all the way through until, the 5th, 6th, 7th. I can't recall how long we did on those videos, but I do know this, and that on April the 4th, one of the years back, I woke up to hear, you are now man and wife. And I've heard all kinds of marriage things within the beginning of April. The experience that I had that I want to talk to you all about, I should have come on and shared right directly after having it. But truth be known, I didn't know what to tell you. I didn't have all of the information about it. I had a ton of questions about it. I needed to understand it a little bit more before I came and shared it with you all. Guys, it was not what I expected. Let me just say that first. And as I go through and start explaining this a little bit more, then you'll understand why I'm saying that. But it is truly something that if it happens to you, you will not miss it. You may not understand it, but hopefully some of the information that I'm going to give you and what the Lord has led me to when I was in prayer with him about, Lord, you got to help me. I'm searching this out, trying to find it. I'm finding it nowhere. And then he started pointing me to particular articles that I also want to share with you. So last video, I'm like, this is it. This is the timing. This is the thing. The Lord had told me even before you're going. Remember, I was going on a restful break at the beginning of April. Even before you're going to receive this. You're going to experience something, whatever. And so I shared everything in that last video that I knew. I didn't know anything more. I knew I was getting ready to embark upon something. I had no idea when it was going to be. I really didn't even have the idea that it could possibly be this year. I knew that was the season. I knew that was the timing. I knew it was spring. But we have hung our hearts on timing in the past, and it wasn't the right season. But this truly was the right season. I did experience something. I want to talk to you all about it. And just kind of share some of my studies and my notes that I have. I'm not going to share it all because a lot of it is where I'm just trying to gather a whole bunch of information, and the Lord is just wanting me to understand a small snippet of stuff so that he can kind of walk me through this maze so that I could understand a little bit more. And I know it sounds like I'm rambling, and I'm not trying to. It's just, this is just so, wow. That's all I can say. This is just so wow. let's just go ahead and start. I don't know when the date was of that last video, but it was before April the 1st. I know that I was reaching out to the Lord in my studies here, that I was still nervous about something that was getting ready to come to be. I had a great heaviness upon me. I knew something was close. I could feel it. I knew it was. But, you know, I sometimes I wonder, is it just my own excitement, or am I really being stirred in the spirit about it? I know that the Lord had given me a word. I shared it in that last video. The word was escape, and that was the word that he had given me, and I just kind of told you what all he was having me understand when I'm posing questions to him to try and figure out Lord, what's going to happen? So let me go ahead and flip this around. I want you to see some of the studies and the words and the things that I've been seeking the Lord on in regards to what was getting ready to happen. So let me go ahead and flip this around. So these are my studies. Notice here the date of 3/27. So I'm still asking the Lord to please guide me in these next few days, because I was really, really nervous. I felt the pressure on me. I knew something was coming. And I said that I am so nervous. And he really just asked me, he said, why? That was his only question. And I said, because it's because of the unknown about what is to occur. That was my answer to him, that I didn't know what was getting ready to occur. And he gave me another single word, ecstasy. Now, I want to talk to you all about that, because when he told me that word, I was like, ecstasy? What are you talking about? You know, I know there's a drug out on the street that you can buy, you know, if you're black market or whatever, ecstasy. A lot of kids take it when they go to, you know, clubs and things of that nature. I know that in a sexual orientation, people will say ecstasy, but this is neither of those. This is a spiritual ecstasy. And what does that mean? So I had to go into looking about, well, what does ecstasy mean? Now, the first thing that came to mind was Saint Teresa of Avila. She has a couple of books out where it was something about the pathway to perfection, or the inner castle, or something like that. I can't recall all the names of her books, but I've ran across some of her stuff in my studies many years ago, probably 3, maybe 4 years ago, and so I really, you know, that came to mind. So that was the first thing that I went to go take a look at, was some of her stuff. And I did look up Saint Teresa of Avila, and saw that it was what they were talking about, that ecstasy. But that still didn't really tell me exactly what it was. What was I supposed to understand about this ecstasy? Now remember, I'm asking the Lord, Lord, I'm very nervous about what's getting ready to happen. I could feel the pressure within me, and I knew that something was coming. And so when I asked him, you know, for help with that, he gave me the word ecstasy. So let's turn this back around and let me show you what I did find. When I went into the Britannica.com, I looked up really to see what the definition of ecstasy was. It means to stand outside of, or to transcend oneself, the experience of an inner vision of God, or of one's relation to or union with the divine. Okay, so now, he's starting to link now what we were all thinking about, right? This was the time of marriage. This was the union. This was the me and him and me that he's been telling us all about, you know, for the last, 2 years. It is the union, the unity, all of these things that he's been pointing to. And so I'm understanding, okay, so, it's getting ready to happen, right? So now my mind is like, okay, so let me find out about this, and what happened to Saint Teresa, and how did she explain this, and what else is out there that I can try to find some information and figure this all out. So as I was continuing to go through some of the encyclopedia about it, it says that ecstasy is the elevation of the soul to God, the soul's awareness of its union with God, and the resulting alienation of the internal and external senses that you're in some type of a trance. And so when I went through and continued reading a little bit more in regards to this trance, I said, what are you talking about? Do you guys know when when you're really, really tired and you're just kind of looking at something and something shiny catches your eye and you're just kind of staring at it? And people might be talking to you, but you don't even really hear them anymore because you're just like so focused intently on this thing that has just caught your eye, and your brain is just kind of cut off for a minute. That is the example that I understood when I was reading through about what this trance was. Because in my mind, I was thinking, well, Lord, you're going to put me in a trance. I've read when I was reading through some of the stuff about St. Teresa that, it could last anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 days or longer. And I'm like, oh, well, the Lord said I would be gone 3 days. Do I need to, what do I need to do? I alerted my husband. I talked with him about it. I explained to him what I was seeing so that if something happened, he wouldn't be freaking out. It was all of that. But at the same time, I'm in prayer. I'm like, Lord, I don't need to be freaking out my family. I need to have a little bit more clarity about what's going on. And as I reached out into prayer with him, he comforted me, but he didn't give me any other words at that point. So I was still kind of digging into this word that he gave me, and I was still trying to figure out what it was he was trying to show me. Did I experience some type of a trance? I don't think so. But when I explain my situation and my experience to you, then you can make a determination on your own. Was I gone 3 days? Not to my knowledge, I wasn't gone 3 days, but I do want to talk to you about it. But before I get to that, I want to at least lead up into where I was thinking, what I was understanding by that time. So let me go ahead and go back to my studies. So the soul is deeply aware of God's presence, but basically what I came into is the transforming union, or this mystical marriage. There is a complete transformation of the soul into the beloved. God gives himself to the soul, and the soul gives itself to God in certain consummation of divine love, so that the soul shares in God's life as fully as possible in this life. So the one thing that I kept hearing was wrapped. And I looked up to see what the word wrapped meant. And I looked up to see what the word rapture meant. And just to try to define all of these things so that I'm making sure that my mind is fully understanding what's going on. I went into some of the text where I could find about the ecstasy and the rapture. And it says here, let's see. Since the object of all contemplation is the production of that state of intimate communion in which the mystics declare that the self is in God and God is in her. This is talking about oneness with the absolute. This is the union that has happened. And when I went into other parts, like here, union with God, and believe me, I have tons of links here, tons of things that I was trying to find exactly what was going on. Ecstasies raise us above ourselves to union with God. So it's talking about St. Francis also having something that she identified along with St. Teresa. But it says An ecstasy is called a rapture, inasmuch as God does thereby rapt us and raise us up to himself, and a rapture is termed an ecstasy. By it we go and remain out of and above ourselves to be united with God. So now, that brings it to the point where when I looked up all of that, I had not had the experience yet. I didn't even know what this was. What was this? In my mind, what a rapture is we're gone, right? Maybe my body might be here for 3 days, but I'm gone. My inner man is gone. All these dreams of the island and the different things that, we've heard and understood in dreams and visions and things of that nature. And I thought, I'm headed to the island for a couple of days. I was just in my mind. I knew I was going to be with the Lord. But I didn't recognize that it was going to be done the way that it was done. And that is the big thing that I want to talk to you about, because when it happened to me, I thought, well, I had 1,001 questions, and I was just shooting them off at the Lord as quickly as I could, because I was trying to figure it out and trying to understand. Even though I pulled up all of this stuff and saw it and understood that this could be what it is, right? But had no idea that it was as close to explaining what happened as it really was. So let me go ahead and continue on with my studies here, and get into continuing on. I went into the second coming scriptures. I went into the rapture scriptures. I saw some things here that made a lot of sense to me. Now, these two quotes that I have right here, I actually pulled up. I hate to quote a time, but probably 6 or 8 months ago. These two quotes right here were very important to me and they stood out to me, which is the reason why they're in my study again. But I actually had them in my work planner as an encouraging motivational quote kind of thing. The rewards of life and devotion to God are love and inner rapture, and the capacity to receive the light of God. That was one. And the other was the wealth within you. Your essence is your kingdom. So now the Lord has been saying that word to me, essence, probably about 6 months ago, because that's when I pulled up this particular thing to put into my planner. But somewhere around the first week of February, the Lord said these 4 things to me. He said, there is no want in my arms. There is no want in my arms. He also said, I will speak to your essence. I will speak to the wealth that's within you, your essence. And then he also said, well, what is true? And he was asking me a question, and I was like, well, Lord, what is true? I mean, all that you tell me is true. And he says, my love for you is true. That's what he said to me. My love for you is true. And then he also has said this, and he has said this to me many times, worry not, my life in you is secure. That's what he said. Worry not, my life in you is secure. So again, I'm still thinking about the rapture. I'm really felt led to look up this word wrapped. And so that's what I did. And when I looked up the word wrapped, it says completely fascinated by what one is seeing or hearing, filled with intense, pleasurable emotion, or having been carried bodily away and transported to heaven. I don't think my body went away, but I do want to talk to you about that. Seized is the word. Seized. So I thought that was really interesting. So I'm having a bunch of dreams that the Lord is telling me, and He's talking to me about some things. I'm not going to go into this, but I am going to go into the day before the incident happened. The day before the incident happened, I was given a song. I woke up to it in the night. When I went to bed April 1st, and it flipped over to April 2nd after midnight. I was given this song early in the morning on April 2nd. That's the title of the song is We'll Never Have to Say Goodbye Again, which is a song from the 1970s. Now, I'm just going to show you who the people are. Let me get this out of here. I don't know why that keeps popping up from my my recording folks. But it's a song by England Dan and John Ford Coley, and it's called, the title is We'll Never Have to Say Goodbye Again. And that is what I heard in my spirit singing to me that morning. And it was that particular lyric, We'll Never Have to Say Goodbye Again, that I heard. So I'll link this into the comment box so that you guys can go and take a look at it. Every time I play a particular song, copyrighted music, even if it's just for a few seconds, I get hit with it all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you who it is and let you click on the link and listen to it. But that is the song that he gave me. We'll never have to say goodbye again. That song. So just take a listen to it and see if it's one that you remember yourself. But it talks about never having to say goodbye. Now, when he gave me that song that morning, when I heard it in the middle of the night and woke up, I was ecstatic. I was like, okay, here it is. We're coming. And I was just so happy to hear that and for him to give me that. So I thought, okay, this is it. This is the rapture. This is the escape. This is the union. It's here. It's coming. It's got to be now, right? And so I stayed quiet about it. I didn't share that with anyone at the time. I stayed to myself about it, but I was really elated about it. I was. And so I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew it was coming. And so the next night when I went to sleep, that's when the experience happened. And I want to talk to you about it because it was not what I was expecting whatsoever. But let me tell you what I do understand about it. So let me get back to my study so I can read it to you, okay? So I had an experience last night. This was the morning of the 3rd, but not one that I thought I would have. All I remember is this swirling of sorts in my body and in my midsection. In the spirit, I could feel the energy going round and round like a hurricane or a tornado would do. Then it rose up high. It just kept going up and rose up high. And that is all I can recall. It was almost like things went black until I woke up the next morning. And when I asked the Lord about it, of course, I'm writing it this morning, I had lots of questions. And mind you, I was shooting them off fast in my mind to the Lord, like, what just happened here, Lord? And why, did I, I said to him, did I go through the rapture and not remember it? I said, did something else happen? I said, did I not make it? He said to me, amongst all of the questions that I was throwing out to him, he said, I made it through. And I stopped and I said, through what, Lord? And he said, you have endured. Now, he said to me that very word a couple of weeks ago, Just the one word, endure. And then he had said it to me in the past again. This is not the first time that I've heard this. And when I looked it up into my studies back in February 12th, this is what he said to me: whatever you do, endure this day. And I didn't know exactly what he meant at that time. But that's what he said. He said, whatever you do, endure this day. So, back in February, in the middle of February, I'm waking up and I'm like, well, whatever I do, endure this day. Okay, Lord, well, what is it? I wasn't given any other information. And then just several weeks prior to this experience happened, he gave me the word endure again. And as a reminder, I don't know. Whatever you do, endure this day. So he was already prepping my spirit, prepping me, prepping for this particular time. Because as soon as I understood what was going on when I woke up, I was like, what happened? What happened? What happened? So here's this swirling, and it's going this way. It's not going this way. It's going round and round this way. And it is a very intense energy. It is like, it's strong. It's a strong energy. And it is like what I said was a hurricane or a tornado. It was like this. And it was all around me. And it was there. And I was like, well, what in the world? Then all of a sudden I looked up and we went straight up. And as soon as we started going straight up, it was like I went black. I can't recall anything whatsoever that happened until I woke up the next morning and recalled, oh my gosh, what did I experience? And that's when I started shooting off all of these questions to the Lord. He told me I made it through. He told me I endured. Okay. Thank goodness. So I'm like, well, what, I was expecting the rapture. I was expecting in my mind, what I thought the rapture would be. I'm out of here. Right? I'll be gone for 3 days. I'll be back. I've left sticky notes around my house before and said I'll be back in 3 days. And I've even sat down and talked to my husband about, the trance or the rapt and what's going on so that there wouldn't be any issue. And still again in prayer, I'm talking to the Lord. Lord, don't scare my family. They're not where I am in understanding, and they're not going to get it. They halfway believe me, and I'm just trying to talk with him in terms of it. And so what he did is he came to me in this whirlwind, and that's what he told me when I first started to do some research on it. He told me whirlwind. That's what he told me. And so that's where my studies and my research started then, with that particular word, whirlwind. But it went this way, very, very strong, very strong. And then up. And that's when I went black. So I asked the Lord later on, I'm like, Lord, why am I not allowed to remember what's going on? Why can't I remember? He said it was not given unto you to remember. So is it yet? More than likely, probably so. He'll allow me to see it at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was not given unto me to remember. So that part was blocked. I guess that's why it went black to me. I saw nothing. And then I was waking up, So how long was I gone? I have no idea. What did I do? I have no idea. I can't tell you anything. All I know is that it didn't hurt. I didn't have any pain whatsoever. I was not afraid. When that whirlwind, it was like I woke up, I was in this whirlwind. And I was awake, and I could feel the intense energy going around and round. And then, I was just getting my bearings really as to, okay, what's going on here? And then the next thing I know, I looked up and we were gone. And that's when it went black. So, I definitely was not expecting a whirlwind. I was not expecting anything like a whirlwind. How was he going to take me up there? Chariots of fire or whatever. But was that a whirlwind? Yeah. Now that I've done some studies, I understand that that's a whirlwind. So I did a little bit more study. I want to talk to you about it. Guys, I'm still just like in awe. I couldn't find anything on it. I looked everywhere, couldn't find anything on it. Had to go into the Lord with prayer and said, Lord, listen, I know you want me to share this video. I know you want me to explain what happened. I know you want me to share this because there's going to be others that are going to experience it and they're not going to understand it like I didn't understand it, because this is not what our understanding is. It is a rapture. It is a inner rapture. And it is the union of us with God. But it didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to happen. Well, why didn't it happen the way that I thought it was going to happen? Because in my naive mind, I had no idea. You know, people aren't teaching this. They're not talking to you about it. All the things says in the Bible is that one was at the mill and then one was taken. You know, or one was here and another was taken. Well, in your natural physical body mind, you think they're gone, right? Maybe they were, or maybe they were inwardly taken and their vessel here. Now, I'm not saying that a rapture can't come to physically take us off of this earth to where all of a sudden we're not going to be here. I'm not saying that at all. I can't say that. How could I say that when I didn't even understand how this was going to happen? You know, and if you haven't experienced something like this and then all of a sudden you do and you have no idea that this is what's going to happen, you're just like, you're grappling with the Lord, you know, in prayer, just saying, God, you got to help me understand this. I mean, I am just like, you know, and I could find nothing on it. And he allowed me to waste my time and spin my wheels and to try and figure it out on my own when I should have gone to him and pressed in even more to say, Lord, you got to help me find something so that I can at least share what you're trying to say to us at this point. What came to mind the next morning when I was praying to the Lord and shooting all those questions at him, the Mount of Transfiguration came to mind. It did. And I kind of put that off to the side because my mind was still trying to, you know, grasp at what happened and what this was all about and why I wasn't allowed to remember it. But thankfully I endured. Now that morning when I woke up from the experience, I didn't remember my February 12th message, where he said, whatever you do, endure this day. Meaning focus, endure, get through it. And I did, thankfully. And it wasn't until I was going back and taking a look and trying to put some things back together so that I could present some of this to you all, that he showed that to me again. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. There's a lot of things that went through my mind. I want to switch this back around so that I can just take you back to my studies. I don't want to get too far off base as to what's going on, but I really want you all to understand that that your rapture experience is not the way that we have thought it to be. Now, if you are already considering that your rapture is going to be a whirlwind, well then you're 10,000 steps ahead of me, because that was not where my brain was whatsoever. But let me go ahead and turn this around because I want to show you, continue on with my studies. So I asked the Lord why I couldn't remember anything after it went up, and he said it was not given unto you to remember. And when I started to research what I was experiencing, the Lord told me whirlwind. So remember when I said here it was like a hurricane or a tornado, he basically told me whirlwind. So that is the one thing I want to go ahead and get started with. So now let me see. That's union. No. Hang on one second. Sorry. I'm trying to see where my tabs are here. Okay. So this came to mind too because Screenomatic. Okay. This came to mind too because of when God spoke to Job out of the whirlwind. That kind of lets you know when the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, and he said, and he's talking to him about all of this stuff. I wanted to go into the Strong's for this whirlwind because whirlwind is what he said to me. And when I went into whirlwind, it says tempest, storm, whirlwind, and then it also says hurricane. And I said, okay, well, there it is. This is what I felt, and this is what I was understanding it to explain it to be. And then also some of the concordance results using that particular word whirlwind. In 2 Kings 2, it says, and it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind. Okay. Taking Elijah up into heaven by a whirlwind. Okay. So the whirlwind is what took me up. And that's when I went black. Okay. Like everything was black. I couldn't see anymore. And then it wasn't until I woke up as to what was going on. So I'm understanding here now that when Elijah went up and threw his cloak down, and the Lord took me through that. I think I just shared this with you in that last video where he was talking to me about that cloak and about him throwing that cloak at least twice, and that, he was taken up in that chariot up by the whirlwind. So I thought that I'm looking at all of this stuff, and after the experience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here it is, right? Let me go back. And it came to pass, they still went on and talked, and there appeared a chariot of fire, horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Here in Job 38, the Lord answered Job out of a whirlwind. It talks about all different kinds of things. Okay, so the whirlwind, and the one word that comes up about the whirlwind is a hurricane, and that's the word I used when I was trying to explain what was going on. So whirlwind. Let's go here. Let's see. This is, that's another dream. I'm gonna pass by this. Let's see. Here it is where I'm looking into the Mount Transfiguration. Okay, so in prayer in the night last night, I asked the Lord what else he wanted to share in the video. And this is what he told me. This was important. He said it 2 times. He said that my love is for you. He said the one thing that he wanted to make sure people understood about this video is that my love is for you. And I said, okay. I wanted to know more details of what this meant. What was it he was trying to say? And I asked him what the whirlwind was. As prior, I was not given anything to remember. He wasn't allowing me. And he said to me, the whirlwind was my love for you. So again, twice. Now he's saying it twice. And I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that he said it to me twice. And we know that if he says anything more than once, and he says it twice, that you need to just listen and pay attention to you. It was significant. Okay. I thought of the Mount of Transfiguration story in the Bible and wondered if it was that Jesus was receiving his gifts. Okay, so when I asked the Lord about it, let me see where it is about the gifts. Hang on, I must have skipped something. Oh, no, I don't have it yet. He said to me, okay, here it is. It's right here. I'm sorry. I wanted to know what the details of this meant. I asked for details of what this meant, and he said, when these things come to you, you will know all that I have given you. So when he's talking about this is my love for you, the whirlwind is my love for you. And I'm asking him for more detail. He says, when these things come to be, you will know all that I have given you. So this is, there's something about, he's giving us something. Is it understanding? Is it gifts? Is it our wealth in him? Is it, what is it? Because recall all these times that he's been saying, you're going to go through a really hard time. Do you guys remember us talking about all of this? He says, you're going to go through a really tough time, but then there will be abundance. Then there will be me. So, we were all understanding that we're going to have to get through all of this heavy stuff. We were going to have to get through all of this stuff that, was, putting us through the ringer, so to speak. Because then there would be abundance, then there would be him. And now that I'm thinking about that rings so true to what Job had to go through. He went through so much loss and hurt and all of this, but he did not waver with his love for the Lord. He saw the Lord. And if that whirlwind was there with him, then we can understand that he went through an experience, like what I experienced, that whirlwind, and what that was doing. Notice that when I was getting ready to say, was Satan with Job at that time, or the Lord? Didn't the Lord say something to Satan? Have you considered my servant Job? And Satan he said, well, how can I get near him? You've got a hedge all about him. You've protected him and all of this. And then something was allowed open, and he said you could do everything but take his life. Paraphrasing. And then all of this stuff happened. But there was a whirlwind there. So it's very interesting. That just popped into my mind that Job went through that really hard time, and he went through that whirlwind, and then at the end there was huge abundance for him. Remember? That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that, but that just came to mind, so I just wanted to share that with you. So the study for looking up the word of whirlwind linked to the hurricane, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And so then this Mount of Transfiguration story came to mind, and I recall that the story was saying that the apostles with him were frightened, and I said, why? Was there a whirlwind? Were the gifts given to Jesus prior and came to be on the mount, like when he said, you will understand the gifts that I've given you when they come to be? Or what happened with Jesus on the mount? I recall the Lord saying, you will go through some tough times, okay, and then there will be abundance. So he's giving me this information again. And then he also said that when this happened, I would be elated. That is the word that he used, elated. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's take a look at Matthew 17, where it's talking about the transfiguration. this is where my studies took me. I went into this, and I wanted to see, did it say anything about a whirlwind? Because I don't know why this came to mind that morning, but it did. And so they're talking about after 6 days, his face shone as the light, da 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 da. And it says that a bright cloud overshadowed them. And a voice out of the cloud said, "This is my beloved son, in whom I am pleased with." So I went into cloud, and cloud here and cloud here is the same. So I just went into it, and it says here, "Used of the cloud which led the Israelites in the wilderness." Cloud. So now that makes sense. Cloud by day, fire by night. We did a whole study on that. The Lord led us through to that. That was some type of a cloud that, led them to where they needed to go. And when the cloud moved, you better pack up all your stuff and follow it. Because that's where, that you had to follow the Lord. The Lord went ahead, because if you went ahead of the Lord, there was no safety there. We learned all about that. But that was the cloud that led them, remember? And so when I saw that at first, and I thought, okay, well, I don't know why. That's not a whirlwind. Well, why did that come to mind? I don't know why at that point. I didn't know why, and I thought it was a dead end, but it was not a dead end, and I'm going to come back and talk to you about it. So let me go ahead and go back to these studies again. I'm sorry I'm flipping back and forth so much, but there's just so much you all need to see things that I've been talking to the Lord about. Now, He's been giving me a lot of different dreams, and we're not going to go into any of those right now. But on the 16th, today being the 18th, on the 16th, I had another dream. I was getting married a second time. And in the dream, I asked, why am I getting married a second time? I knew in my mind that the date was tax day, April 15th. That was yesterday, according to when I was typing this in. I recognized people in my dream from my life. I was marrying my husband a second time without planning, but just walking in and doing it. So it was one of those matter-of-fact things, but I understood this was getting married a second time. That was significant, a second time. So I asked the Lord about it, naturally. I'm going to ask Him questions. And He said, you have come to be, and that He is connected to all parts of me. That's what He is saying. He said, you have come to be, and that I am connected to all parts of you, is what He said to me. And then later, I was asking Him in prayer about some more things again, and this is what He said to me. He said, you shall, you are, and will forever always be. Let me say that again. You shall, you are, and will forever always be. Now, in my mind, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard that was, is, was, and will be, the scripture of nothing new under the sun, and that, etc., except, but that was the first thing that popped to my mind. And when the Lord stayed quiet and He allowed me to think on this for just a minute, my mind started going to, wait a minute, forever always will be, or will forever always be. I started to question Him then. Does this mean eternal life? Does this mean eternal life? Is this what you're trying to tell me now? And to me, that's what it sounded like. So that night, while I was laying in bed, I was praying to the Lord, and I was just talking to Him. And he's given me that information, and and I'm still talking to him about things that are going on and things that are on my heart, and and the experience that had happened, and everything else. And I just started singing to him in prayer, in my mind, in prayer, about how much I loved him. It was a simple little like camp song tune, but it was something that I was singing to him. And then when I got done singing, he started singing to me. And the song that he started singing to me is the song I'm getting ready to share. And I could not believe he was singing it. I just could not believe it. And then it went into the tune of this particular song. So let me show you what it is. It's the song of We've Only Just Begun to Live by the Carpenters. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. This is another, well, when did this, I don't know when this song came out, probably back in the late 60s, early 70s again, but it's We've Only Just Begun. And it is just an amazing little song. We've only just begun to live. And that's what I heard. Once I heard that particular, we've only just begun to live. After I'm asking you, what does this mean, Lord? Does this mean eternal life? What does this mean? And this is what he's saying to me. We've only just begun to live, white lace and promises, a kiss for luck, and we're on our way. Before the rising sun, we fly. So many roads to choose. We'll start out walking and learn to run. Sharing horizons that are new to us, watching the signs along the way, talking it over just the two of us, working together day to day, together. Guys, you just can't make this stuff up. There is no way, no how. There is, when the Lord wants you to know something, when he wants to take you through something, when he wants to get your attention, when he wants to tell you how much he loves you, when he wants to make sure that you understand his love for him and that that is true, when he wants to tell you there is no want in my arms, and that I am going to speak to your essence, your kingdom, your wealth, your valuable, your treasure. He tells you all of these things, guys, and you have to, it's almost like when you're wooed by God. Do you understand how much he loves us? It's just, so I'm talking to him and I'm like, Lord, I'm still trying to gather all this stuff together. I know you want me to share it. But I still can't find anything about it. I understand the whirlwind in the Bible. I understand that you're in it. I understand it's your power. I understand that's how you get us there. I've experienced that. You won't allow me to remember anything right yet, but at least I can say that part and I can explain how it felt and what was going on. But what about, Lord, is there anything that I can see that can help me explain exactly what this is and what's going on? And so then on the 16th, I went to bed, I retired to bed, I took my tablet with me, and I had said that prayer just before opening it up to try and do some research, and it was almost instantaneously that he brought me to something. And I want to show you what it is. Let me turn this around. This right here. This is the site, whatever, I can't pronounce that word. But it was talking about God's whirlwind of his presence coming. So I'm just going to read this to you. This is kind of short. There is something else that we're going to click into off of this. But as soon as I saw this and started reading it, I just had to stop and thank him, because this is it. These Father Encounter group, they were in praying and they were welcoming the Holy Spirit into their midst. And this is what they heard, God repeating the word whirlwind over and over and over again. A great movement of God's presence is coming very soon, and it's saying whirlwind. So he started to write as the Father described what God's whirlwind was. He spoke very clearly to his heart. He said, I will come like a whirlwind. It won't be subtle. No, it won't. You will know it when I fully manifest myself to you. It will blow apart every wrong doctrine and teaching and completely level all past establishments so that all my children will be able to see and hear me clearly and follow me and no one else. So now this is real interesting, because the minute I read that, I was like, okay, since this has happened, I am hearing him very clearly, like he is standing right here. Like I'm not having to maneuver through the Spirit or anything. It's like he's standing right here, right here. And so he is very clear. I am hearing what he is saying. He is talking to me instantaneously. There is no delay, and it's very clear. So I wanted to make that point. Let me go back to this. God's whirlwind will give birth to something brand new. He continued, I am coming in like a whirlwind to breathe in new life. I won't be reviving the old. I will give birth to something brand new that you cannot even possibly imagine. You don't have a platform of understanding for what I'm about to do, so it would only sound like clanging cymbals in your ears. This is why I have not explained in advance what I'm about to do. The only way for you to understand is to experience it for yourself. Get ready, my whirlwind is coming and will wipe away everything that has been hindering us from having a full relationship without anything getting between us. In God's whirlwind, you will hear God clearly and speak with his authority. Then the Father describes some of the things that will happen when this whirlwind comes. You will hear my voice clearly. You will also see everything that I am doing and will easily be able to mimic every move I make. When you repeat my words with one whisper, you will be able to level mountains. For my full authority comes from every word that proceeds out of my mouth that will be flowing from yours. So now, that makes a lot of sense, because remember what the Lord said. He said, you will go through, you will think my thoughts, you will see what I see, you will say what I say. So if he's saying it to you and you're going to be saying it out, then that's him coming out, and that's that authority coming out. So that made perfect sense to me, because that's what the Lord has already told us. That's what he's already told us. So let me go ahead and go back, but notice that it was in you, not outside. He's saying that this was coming within you. Get ready. My whirlwind is coming. It will blow down and annihilate everything the enemy has erected to try and stop my kingdom from coming to the earth. My kingdom from coming to the earth. I will blow down the gates of hell, and it will never again be able to prevail against my true church, reborn. Reborn. Recall that scripture where the one guy went to Jesus and he said, well, what do I have to do? Crawl back into the womb again? And he says, well, what is, you have to be born of the water and of the Spirit. Remember what he was saying to the guy, that you have to be reborn? And he didn't understand. Well, now we're understanding. Okay, so now we're starting to understand a little bit more. Your longing and desire for God to be the focus of the Father encounters, which is what he was doing and praying, every week has caused a stirring in my heart, and I'm about to bring a whirlwind that you have stirred up onto the earth everywhere each one of you resides. And then he's telling him that it would be so many seasons before it came, but God's whirlwind will reside in you. When I saw this is when I had to stop, and literally I was crying, because this is what I had just asked God for. you know, you need to help me find this, so because I can't find anything on it anywhere. And this is what he brought me to. The whirlwind will reside in you, for I will establish God's whirlwind in each of you that will destroy the old and rebirth the new everywhere you breathe. You will carry my full authority in your breath. You will be able to speak exactly what I am saying, and whatever you say will be done. So this is what God is saying to this man. This has been years and years ago. He understood it to be seasons later. Every movement you make will be backed by the full authority of God's whirlwind that I will place in you. Your mind will become one with mine as our thoughts intertwine as if one thought. I will remove every deceit and hindrance so that we think as one, and you simply do whatever is on my mind. Your thoughts and emotions, will and actions will be unified in fullness of my spirit that will occupy every part of you. So get ready. God's whirlwind of God's presence is coming and will consume every part of you and level the enemy's playing fields. So 2 years later, he got some more information, and I just want to show this to you, and then I'll put these in the link as well, and you guys can go through and read it for yourself. It's saying that when this comes, these are the signs that you need to look for. The first sign is what he's saying. The first sign is you will free everyone from bondage. God clarified what these miraculous signs are. The first sign that God's powerful presence is upon you. I will shake loose those who have been enslaved by the enemy, never to be shackled again. They will be instantly set free from all bondage and walk freely in my sight, never turning away from me ever again. Now, when I read this, I near about fell over, because I was just speaking to a precious sister in Christ in regards to when I was wrestling so hard to put things down in my life, that when I made a mistake and I fell and I had issues and I was beating myself up over it, I was literally holding myself in prison. It wasn't God doing it. It was me doing it. And I was trying to explain to her that I now feel like I'm walking in freedom, and able to, you know, not lower myself to that degree anymore, to not, you know, to not get into depression or being down because I feel like I've failed again. I didn't fail, my God. He knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. But I was just speaking to a precious sister in regards to this. So for him to show me this, it's just another confirmation as to what I'm understanding. Everyone you touch will be healed. That doesn't necessarily mean it's your hands. Remember, Jesus he told some people that the guy said, if you will just say these words, my son will be healed. Jesus wasn't even there to touch him. And he said, your faith has healed him. And so, there's a lot of different things that are getting ready to be happening here. So it's talking about healing, and that you will be doing the impossible and the unimaginable. The crazier it is, the more God will probably give you the power to do it. Now, I am going to say this, that the Lord confirmed part of that with me as well, because I just came across that on the 16th, and it was last week or the week prior that he said to me, he reminded me about that Charlemagne message. Oh, especially since I had that dream that had Charles in it. That was just recently. And he was reminding me about, you're going to be able to do some really great things. not great like fantastic things, but like great things, things that we can't even in our own mind think about. How about, being able to speak to a mountain and have it fall? I mean, just even that, when we think about how that is. I mean, how can your brain even wrap around that to begin with? But there's going to be big things getting ready to happen. And he has told us that in the past. Let me see if I made a note about that in that Charles, because like here's that Charles thing. Let's see. I must have wrote it down in my other journal. But he was talking about being able to do great things, but great wasn't the word that he used. It was like things you can't even comprehend or even imagine right now. You're going to be doing, and so will you. So it's coming. If he's showing it to me, listen, I don't understand why he's allowing me to go through all of these experiences. Is he allowing me to go through all these experiences so that I can use my mouth to explain it to you all, so that you won't be afraid, so that you understand that these things are possible, so that you can see what all's getting ready to happen? I mean, is that what he's doing? There are others that are going through some of this as well. But they're not sharing it. They're afraid to share it, or they're not sharing it, or I don't know, because I can't find any of this other information. And the stuff that I do find, I'm just like, how in the world, the whirlwind that took me up, that particular whirlwind. I mean, I never in 1,000 years would I have expected that to happen. Never. Where? How would I have expected that to happen? I wouldn't have, because in my mind, I already had it perceived as something different. And so he's showing me something even different. I have one more article I want to show you. So hang on just a minute. So this particular article was the second one on the 17th. As I went in to study, I asked the Lord, please show me anything else that you want me to see. And he brought me to this image. This is kind of what I sensed that whirlwind felt like. So I thought it was a pretty interesting image. This was just somebody's notes back in 2008 about Ezekiel's cherub, that whirlwind. But there's some interesting information in here I would like for you to see. So it says, as Ezekiel stands at this border between present captivity and nostalgia for former freedom, the heavens are opened. This is significant. Israel is closed in, hedged up, locked away, and bound up in exile. The heavens open to release the captive from their chains and offer a new kind of freedom. It is then that this vision begins, with a whirlwind coming out of the north, the traditional direction of God's realm. Psalm 48. Whirlwinds also act as heralds announcing the imminent approach of the Lord. In Elijah's theophany on the mountaintop, he later carries him into the presence of God in a heavenly chariot. It is the impassive whirlwind which delivers God's message of nothingness of man to a terrified Job, and it is also a great wind from the wilderness that kills his children. Isaiah also describes a whirlwind in terms that bear a marked resemblance of Ezekiel's vision. For behold, the Eternal will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. Isaiah 46. The whirlwind coming from the north is the terrible and majestic power of God flowing from a source of his presence. Whirlwinds are employed as images of awesome and destructive forces throughout the Bible, often utilized to destroy the wicked in an overwhelming force of shattering divinity. The fact that Ezekiel remains standing at this point without being dissolved says much about his toughness of character. An encounter with God strips a man of his superficialities and communicates directly and awfully with his center, his essence. If there is nothing at his center, he is destroyed. The power of God, like a whirlwind, blasts away and dismantles anything merely ostensible or unstable. The whirlwind strips away Ezekiel's eternal husks so that his central seed is exposed to the full power of the Lord directly. The heavens were opened, and now Ezekiel himself has been opened. The doors to his little sanctuary have been blasted off their hinges. The whirlwind is further described as a great cloud, a phrase surely to remind readers of the pillar of cloud described in Exodus. Now, it wasn't until this point that I started to recognize, now wait a minute, my Matthew 17 Mount of Transfiguration thought that came into mind may not be a dead end after all. So let's continue. The pillar of cloud served as a guide to the Israelites on their 40-year journey through the wilderness between the captivity of Egypt and the freedom of the Promised Land. The great cloud of Ezekiel's vision also appeared as a guide between the realms of captivity and freedom. The captives in Chaldea were sorely in need of a guiding presence as they wandered through the wilderness of exile and captivity. The cloud also serves to cover the terrible presence of the Lord in order to protect mortal eyes. Direct contact with God would mean an instant melting away for anyone unprepared for such an encounter. God hides himself within symbolic forms as a boundary, protecting our own frail frames from disintegration. And there's a whirlwind, right? Like a tornado, right? And that was the other word that I said. Hurricane or tornado is what I felt like. Whirlwinds often arise in desert areas in need to take form of a pillar of cloud. Such a whirlwind is created when local winds start to spin on the ground. This causes a funnel to form, which moves over the ground, pushed by the winds that first formed it. The funnel picks up debris as it moves over the ground, becoming a visible whirlwind with a vortex at its center. A vortex is a spiraling flow with a circular motion. Interestingly, that there is a type of galaxy called a spiral galaxy, which is characterized by a thin rotating disk and created by a similar phenomenon. Then it goes in to talk about the Milky Way. Let's come down here. If we study the formation process of whirlwinds in biblical terms, we begin to understand more of what this powerful image suggests. In Hebrew, the same word, ruah, is used to describe spirit, breath, and wind. Because a whirlwind occurs when opposing winds, ruah, meet, we learn that an opposition of mighty spirits creates a circular and visible form of incredible power. The powerful metaphor of the whirlwind emphasizes the nature of coordinated oppositions in which we will discover in the fourfold cherubim opposing forces creating spiritual energy. Spiritual energy. Nahum tells us that the Lord has his way in the whirlwind, and in the form of these spirits whirling in a divine counterpoint of opposition is inscribed the pattern of the universe, of God himself, and of the godly man. So that's the other thing that the Lord showed me on the 17th, which was yesterday. And so I knew it was time now to go ahead and bring the video out and to explain to you all that I have talked to the Lord about, all that I have experienced, all that my mind was going through, all that was going on from the 27th of March until yesterday. So guys, if I had been able to come on and bring as much information to you as I have today, and I still don't have all of it yet. I don't. I can only give you what I know up to this point. But your rapture, guys, is a whirlwind. You're going to be taken up into heaven by a whirlwind. Wasn't given anything to remember at this point. Whatever you do on that day, endure, get through it. So I don't know what all happened during that time, but it sounds like if my insides was not ready for it, I would not be here talking to you about it right now. So what did I go through? I don't know. What did I have to endure? I don't know. Will he show it to me at some point? I hope so. Is there more to it? I don't know. Will it happen again? I have no idea. I just need to put I don't know on a card and just, and just hold it up for every question that you might have in your mind. I have to hold it up because I don't know. I don't know. So, spring was the timing. It is the season. It is the union. It is where we are in him and he is in us. The union is there. You go up with a whirlwind. There it is. When I asked the Lord last night, and I'm trying to remember the exact words that he wanted this video to be titled, I asked him, Lord, what do you want the video to be titled so that it will attract as many people to see it? And then I had to stop. And I said, no, Lord, I'm wrong on that. This is my true intent. Lord, what does the title of the video need to be so that it will attract the people you want to see it? I'm not on YouTube for numbers. I'm not on YouTube for subscriptions. I'm not on YouTube to do anything but what the Lord asked me to do. And that is to come and to talk with you all about the messages that he's been giving me, the experiences that he's been giving me, to express to you the amount of love that he has for you and that he wants to get you home. So that's what I have been doing. And so he said 3 words. I can't remember the first 2, but the last one was fly. So I'm going to have to go into prayer as I'm going through trying to get all of this stuff ready for YouTube for you all to watch it, because he wanted the word fly in it. Fly. And then I recalled that, he has given me messages in the past. It's time to fly. And all of that. So, whoever's going to be watching this video, I would imagine you are supposed to be watching this video, and I would take the information that you are hearing and the links that I'm giving you and go into prayer about it. Take it to the Lord. As I say with everything else that I have shared, please take it to the Lord. Have him confirm it for you. There is no way that you can make up the fact that he gave me that song the night before, the fact the song he gave me after I sang him a song, he started singing a song. Because now, guys, I can hear him much, much more clearly now. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I just don't know what else to say. If there's anything else that the Lord gives me, I will share it when I understand it enough to be able to share it, But, wow. And it wasn't anything I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. So, go to the Lord in prayer. Ask him about it. Ask him about what I'm saying to you. He'll tell you. He'll tell you. He'll confirm it. He'll lead you to something else that I haven't found yet to confirm it. I have no idea what he will do. But, so, the timing was right. What else is next? I don't know, but there's something coming, because he said, when these things come to be, you will see all that I have given you. God's power coming on earth. I've had so many people say, no, it's a physical thing. It is a physical thing, but it's within us. He has told us that for so long. It's within us. He is coming within us. Us and him and us. That's the one. That's the unity. Guys, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I wished I had all the answers. I don't. And it's hard for me to share when I don't have all the answers. But, my whole platform has been, I don't know the answers. I'm just telling you what God is telling me and what he's showing me. And I'm trying to get it as much as you are. And then when I get an experience like this, I'm just like, whoa, especially if it's not one that I thought how it was going to happen. It's just amazing. We serve an amazing God. We serve an amazing God. So I wanted to get this video out to you. God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay under his wings. Stay in prayer. And seek him on all things. God bless you all.